you. Yes. Gur Mahagat, and I too want to begin by welcoming those that are in the gallery here this evening, many of whom played a key role in relation to what has become a huge debate on pension age. And Minister, you will know that during the last general election the people sent a very clear message to government in relation to pension age, and while many of us might run a mile at the word of pensions, the pension age clearly matters to people. It matters to the general public and it matters to workers out there. And that pressure in the last general election forced this government into a significant U-turn. And the facts are, if the government had their way, we would today have a pension age of 67. We would have people who spend almost every day on their feet. We would have people engaged in heavy manual labour who would not be able to receive their state pension until the age of 67, either because they're forced out of their job due to their employment contract and onto a job seeker's payment, or because they could not remain on beyond that age. And there is an issue here, and despite the recent name change, we do have a situation where people are being forced to retire at 65 and they have to go on what is a job seeker's payment. And you spoke earlier on about income adequacy and the importance of that in our social protection system and the importance of that for our state pension. But once those workers move on to what is a job seeker's payment, they lose out over €2,300 a year in what should be their state pension. The Commission's report, interestingly, also talks about poverty proofing. And when those 65-year-olds move on to a job seeker's payment of €208 a week, they are on a payment that is below the poverty line, and it is well below the poverty line. After the general election, the government set up the Commission, and that was definitely seen at the time as an avenue to basically make the hard decision for you. But the Commission has now done their work, and I want to commend them for that work, but they have left this government with a decision. And this government have to discuss and speak to and engage with those people who will actually be impacted by the decision you will make in relation to pension age, including the trade unions. And I also want to acknowledge, and we raised this point at the time, the fact that the Pensions Commission, in relation to its make-up, did not include a representative for older people and did not include a representative for women either. That was a mistake, and that is why that engagement now is important. It's also important to note two important points made by the Commission in their report. One is the fact that 2 of the 4 packages brought forward, and I appreciate the Commission gave a preference, but they did bring forward 4 packages for the government to consider, 2 of which do not include a state pension age increase whatsoever. And the Commission also recognised the fact that some workers need to be able to access a state pension at 65, something we have said repeatedly and consistently, and something that, in fairness to the Commission, they did acknowledge. Many of the proposed changes we've seen in relation to the state pension have been about savings and also this imaginary pensions time bomb. Yet what was really interesting in relation to our committee's work was that nobody that came before the committee, including the ESRI, could tell us what savings would be made by increasing the state pension age. In fact, the ESRI told us because there's de facto, as they put it, a pension being paid at 65, that payment that is being made, it's actually impossible to say what savings are being made because a payment is being made. And the government should stop peddling the argument around savings unless you actually have the figures in the first instance, which to now you have not. It has been referenced in relation to family carers, and I welcome the commitment in the programme for government for a solution for family carers who in a lot of cases are there 24/7. They work extremely hard for a basic social welfare payment, not much else, and they are denied in a lot of cases a state pension at retirement, or they are left on a reduced state pension. It's not good enough. They deserve better, and I hope that that matter will be resolved. And just lastly, I want to say we have a lot of work to do in relation to pensions. When it comes to the total contributions approach, we need to make sure it works for carers and for the self-employed before it is fully rolled out. And when it comes to auto-enrolment, which is an important add-on for workers in this state who in a lot of cases depend on the state pension and state pension alone, and I mean it is not perhaps as generous as the government may always make out, but it is so important that we get auto-enrolment right, that we make sure we are careful in relation to who manages it in particular. Lastly, we have brought forward legislation on the abolition of mandatory retirement. In the last Dáil it was passed unanimously, it wasn't progressed. The government needs to stop talking about it and actually make it happen.